Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.55 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 0.3. We see Bitcoin 109,000 plus, Ethereum 2,700 plus. It's out here moving today. It's up 8.7 on the 24. We see XRP number 4 spot is 229. It's up 1.9 on the 24, up 3.1 on the 7-day. Range of price between 225 and 232. We'll keep an eye on it. That is, if you haven't seen the first video this morning, please go watch that video. And also, it looks like we are going to see the Genius Act get voted on in the Senate this week. So I think maybe that's where some of this excitement's coming in the market from. And we also have some breaking news today as well as this news. Another crypto company going public. Uphold CEO said the company is exploring either a public listing on NASDAQ or selling the company at a $1.5 billion valuation. This could be the next big crypto listing after Circle. Head on a swivel, ladies and gentlemen. And we know about Weebus, right? Signs up to a $300 million XRP Treasury management with top-tier manager Samara Alpha, making major step into its XRP Treasury strategy. Now, just going into this, just so you understand the pros and cons of this, the positive is that the partnership with the SEC registered investment advisor provides institutional-grade infrastructure and expertise. It also has strategic framework, allows for flexible implementation with up to 300 million mandate cap. Phased approach demonstrates prudent risk management with no immediate asset commitment. And again, they haven't allocated any assets yet. It's just they've set it to a $300 million cap. So there's no immediate implementation or asset transfer as of yet, and the timeline's uncertain. And then obviously you have exposure to crypto when you do that. But the limited to XRP management only, lacking diversification and individual asset strategy. However, I think they understand that they're making a good move, knowing that this is right before legislation is passed. And I think we're going to see a lot of others act in a way that brings digital assets into their treasury strategy, very similar to MicroStrategy, but different, right? So very excited for them. And let's take a look at this. Ahead of today's Clarity Act markup in the Financial Committee and the House Ag Committee, some industry players I've been speaking to are raising concerns over a new section in the amendment text they're describing as Gendler Era provision. And this is why you have to watch these things closely. The change would eliminate exemptions for previously issued tokens, instead giving the SEC sweeping authority to determine on a case-by-case basis whether each token qualifies as a security. Critics say this approach reintroduces uncertainty the bill is meant to resolve. More to come, and there is more to come. In prepared remarks for his confirmation hearing in front of the Senate Agriculture Committee this afternoon, Brian Quintez endorses Congress giving the CFTC new jurisdiction over spot crypto commodity markets. This could prove to be the most exciting and most important time in the agency's history, as Congress considers new jurisdiction for the agency over the spot crypto commodity markets. Quintez will appear before the committee at 3 p.m. Eastern Time today. Now, this is exciting because I think to myself, that stipulation about giving the SEC on a case-by-case basis to determine who's a security and who isn't, and we know that XRP isn't, this could be a bottleneck. And if the CFTC is awarded by Congress the breadth of the market to include the spot crypto commodity market, This could be a trade-off that the SEC gets to decide who is a security and who will fall under the crypto commodity market for spot under the CFTC. You see, this could be kind of a compromise. We'll have to see how this happens. But you have to wonder if there was somebody like Gary Gensler, anyone coming through there would be a security by default in his eyes. So this is concerning, and we need to get more information, and we'll stay to it. And shout out to Eleanor Terrett for that. I want you to listen to what Brad Garlinghouse says here as he's quoting what could come and where. Just take a listen to the clip. We'll talk.
The U.S. dollar, arguably the best managed currency in the world, has been devalued through inflation by, over 90% in the last 50 years.
Is it 90% in the last 50 years?
If you do that, like just an adjusted, what was it, $100,000?
Purchasing power.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Incredible.
So, do we think that's going to get better or worse?
Wow, with the printing press.
I think it's probably going to get worse.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's the best managed currency. And by the way, we could argue about, actually, I should retract that a little bit. One of the best managed currencies. And the U.S. dollars, I think many would say, if not the best and most
we're the reserve currency, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's the best one. So, right. I think it's inevitable. And it's inevitable that, not right now we talking about is $2.5 trillion. Do I think this is an easy 10x over the next 5 to 10 years? Yeah, no problem. That doesn't freak me out when I say that at all.
That's conservative.
It feels safe. I mean, to the earlier conversation about asymmetric returns, is there a chance that it's 100x in that time frame? It feels aggressive, but I don't know. I think that many people in the United States particularly don't understand what it would be like to have lived in Argentina and have the Argentinian peso devalued effectively to zero multiple times in my lifetime. Why would you hold that currency?
There you have it. So it's all about the currency. It's all about shoring up the U.S. dollar. That's what the large move is. Now, I showed this before in the first video this morning, but it's relevant to the conversation and the other news we're going to look at today. Over 50 nations now use the yuan, rupee, and ruble for oil and defense trade through BRICS partnership. No longer is there an exclusive arrangement for the U.S. dollar as the petrodollar. That is being unwound before our eyes, which means we have to figure out how to get stable coins in a place where they can begin to absorb the treasuries in order to make sure that the dollar doesn't become weakened by this lack of exclusivity of the U.S. dollar under the petro trade.
What is on the critical path? How do we think about the execution, the adoption at scale for digital assets and blockchain technology? What's on the critical path?
So when I think about time, it's relative, right? Because you think about one of the most disruptive technology of any of our lives, the internet, it started in 1950 with like Sputnik, right? So, and then it kind of in the 78 was, I think, the first email sent, and then .com, and then really the explosion of like proliferating, like working from home during COVID. So we're still 75 years later, we're still innovating on it, but it has completely transformed the way we share data. Via email, we went to the read-write era. So like, I think time is relative, but we have seen some killer use cases on blockchains, the volume starting to like skyrocket. Now I think recently, like stable coins as of this month, I think are close to 800 billion volumes on a monthly basis. So extrapolate that, they're gonna rival some of the larger networks like Visa and PayPal in the near term. So, when you ask about adoption, I think it's pretty clear that like, you're starting to see adoption in these various industries. But, from our perspective, wanting to make sure that, safety soundness is still implemented in this. Because for the most part, it's been retail driven. It hasn't been, it has not been institution.
That's the point right there. Up until now, all of this has been retail driven and speculative driven. We're about to see the institutions come into this space, and we know that a lot of them are already partnered with Ripple. Now remember, that was Ryan Rugg from Citi. Remember the moment that we're in. This is a great post. It's time for a change. Ripple Pumpkin shares this. Did you know that Swift replaced Telex in 1977? Telex was there from 1930 to 1977. Swift came in from 1977 to 2024. Now it's time for Swift to be replaced by XRP, Ripple and XRP. I think the complement is there. And I think the salient point is we need a new financial system and payment rails that aren't antiquated and vulnerable. And we need that because not only of that fact, but we need it because it will help to underpin the US dollar dominance. Voluntary testing of the ISO 20022 Fedwire funds format will be available from June 23rd through July 11th. It starts in another 13 days. That's what we're looking at here. Shout out to Matthew Linai for that. And the reminder here is that Ryan Rugg, who we just heard in the clip before, talking with Kayla Batia from Swift and Pega Soltani. They're all working together.
Or that, whether we are participating and supporting different initiatives where possible, we do our own experimentations. You're absolutely right? So we talked with Pega and with Ryan on tokenized assets and CBDCs and doing a lot of experimentation in both kind of areas as the market, has identified those as key next steps of what the next, way into interoperability. And so if you look at tokenization, we started off last year looking at how we can be the single point person hooking up tokenized platforms to different payment platforms. And now we're working with a group of banks who are actually doing some experiments to see if they can use their existing Swift infrastructure to instruct the value of tokenized assets across multiple private and public blockchains. CBDCs we've been working in for a little bit longer. We started off creating a connector on the CBDC side, between DLT-based and fiat-based systems using existing financial rails. Then we did some sandboxing again with a small group of people just to see, does this make sense? Is this the right way? And feedback from that group was, yes, it makes sense, and let's continue on experimenting. Then we had some central banks actually say, let me take your CBDC connector and we'll put it into our infrastructure and start doing some testing. And then we just opened up a second phase of sandbox testing with a larger group of banks and central and commercial banks that are looking at different use cases now and around FX and liquidity.
There you have it. They're all working together. Citi, Swift, and Ripple. And what do we know? Citi is one of the largest liquidity providers out here, and Swift is the big messaging network. So Ripple has managed to get themselves bottlenecked right on both sides of the problem, and they are a solution. This is Ryan Rugg again, who is the global head of digital assets at Citi's Treasury, telling us that their clients want next generation global payment system that is always on, multi-bank, multi-border liquidity and payment. Take a listen.
Do you buy into the idea that payments innovation has plateaued, that things are really broken? How do you react to that particular proposition?
So I don't know if I would say we've hit a plateau, but for the most part, especially in country, payments are pretty efficient. Mm-hmm. You start seeing, but when you start having to go cross-border and having that always-on infrastructure, that matches the speed of the internet. So like the thesis statement that our clients have given us is they want always-on, multi-bank, multi-border liquidity and payment.
That's what they want, and they need cross-border. Now, who's been working on that? We have, right? Dan Dunny, the CTO at DTC's Digital Assets, say there will not be one blockchain used for the financial system, but multiple, and that private permission chains are beneficial to institutions. Take a listen.
Can't be one blockchain. No matter how passionate you are about your favorite layer one, there can't be one. If there's only one, then there will be no innovation because there's no break-in points. The barrier of entry is too high. And basically you'll have the malaise that you have in traditional financial systems, just you'll have it in blockchain form. So there'll be many, and they'll continue to proliferate in this world. The real question, and the other truth is you cannot scale a decentralized blockchain, theoretically impossible, that maintains each of the three balance points for a blockchain to 1 million transactions per second, really the amount that we would need to cover global scale financial transactions. You can't do it. So there can't be one. What that means is methods to connect chains together and to actually have a chain of chains is actually the essential component in this new world. And there's good solutions out there in order to connect chains. So I can have one blockchain that is completely public. I can stand up another blockchain, a layer 2 blockchain. I can proof its activity down to the lower chain. And now I've just doubled the scale of that chain. I can do that a layer above and a layer above, or layers outward, horizontally or vertically, to get to that point. But what that means is I have many chains. Now, those chains may be public, they may be private. There are good reasons why chains should be private. Transaction privacy matters. Let's say I want to run a dark pool. That's a useful thing in the markets. And so you do want to keep your transactions private.
Absolutely, you do. And with the Interledger Protocol and the XRP Ledger, you can join the world of blockchains together and make use of the XRP Ledger DEX. I believe the Bank of International Settlements calls this a unified ledger. That's where we're going, ladies and gentlemen. And if you were really unsure about it, you got to give the Baron of Beach Street at Baron of Beach Street a follow. I'm telling you, you got to follow this guy. His research is bar none, and he is the official legend of the Digital Asset Investor channel. No question about it. And all I can say is I'll go down through all his hard work and show you the DTC patent that he's looking at here. And then what he wants us to see is the money shot. And the money shot is showing Stellar Network and XRP Ledger right here in the stack. What else do you need to see? As I've said, this is about not only getting the private issuance of stable coins in place so you can then relieve the petrodollar agreement, which is already happening. Already happening. No speculation there. That's already happening. We need now to get the utility on these new value protocols like the XLM and Stellar Network and the Ripple and XRP Ledger. We need to get the liquidity of the traditional world onto these networks so we can effectively have the stable coins operating, the private issuers holding the bonds, and then over time, the liquidity that comes onto the network in the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars can be used to underpin the US digital dollar, and the need to have all the private issuers of stable coins can be addressed once that is achieved. This is breaking news right here. Guggenheim Treasury, ladies and gentlemen, services taps Zeconomy platform to issue commercial paper on the XRP Ledger. Apex 25 digital commercial paper DCP is now live on the XRP Ledger, administered by Guggenheim Treasury Services, one of the largest independent commercial paper platform managers in the world, powered by Zeconomy. With $280 million in issuance, DCP is the first native digital commercial paper on XRP Ledger, bringing a fixed income asset secured by U.S. Treasuries and rated Prime 1 by Moody's. Loving this for us. This is another breakdown right here of it, right here. The expansion to the XRP ledgers builds on DCP's initial launch in September of 24, which has already processed over $280 million in issuance. DCP is fully backed by maturity-matched U.S. Treasury securities and is offered daily at custom maturities of up to 397 days. That is amazing. You know, these things that look little or look small, or even if they sound big to you when you hear them, but yet you don't see the reflection in price, I truly believe it is because we are waiting for the legislation. Why is that so important? Because everybody else says, well, the rest of the world isn't waiting. Well, you're right. The rest of the world isn't waiting. But I'll tell you one thing. The majority of all the money and decision-making to control all the money of the world is absolutely waiting on the largest economy to make that move and pass legislation. And when they do, the dot-com era for crypto will be ours. Eggrad Crypto says the golden arch, baby. Watch out. By now, you should understand what I mean about targeting double digits, but please, I urge you, don't wait for just one target to sell. Always take profits rationally and set clear, specific targets. I can't stress enough, don't rely on one target. Have a plan to exit. And remember, I'm not responsible for your decisions, and neither am I. I say bring on the $27. In fact, I'm here for 3, 4, and 5-digit XRP because I believe ultimately we will achieve it. Not financial advice from me, him, or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.